Cam here. Welcome back to another Gibbs adventure. And I'm in the process of running up to my camp here. My trap camp's up in Fortune Township, which is about a good 30 miles or 50 some kilometers up in the bush. And this is the main haul road, what we call the Millette Road, and I'm heading up that way. So just want to just run in, start a quick fire in the stove and check the camp. It's December the 18th, and believe it or not, we can still drive in the bush with our trucks, which in this part of the world, northeastern Ontario, is kind of unheard of. It's not normal. So I'm going to take advantage of it and just run in, have a quick look at my camp, make sure everything's in order, fire up the wood stove, check it out for any issues, and kind of get it ready, because after Christmas and New Year's, I'm planning on coming up to do a little bit of trapping, and want to make sure I know beforehand if I got any issues that I have to deal with. So onward and upward, follow along. I'll turn the camera on, off and on once in a while, just to show you some of the terrain that we have. Of course, the benefit of having a nice road like this to travel on is that there's a price to be paid, and the price is that they're logging. And so for every kind of action, there's always a reaction, and the reaction is clear cuts. So unfortunately, it's the reality. I guess I'm not a fan of clear cut logging, but at the same time, you don't wipe your butt with plastic. So there's trade-offs that you have to make in life, and one of them is to have good access like this and be able to drive 80-90 kilometers an hour almost right up to my camp. They're gonna cut the forest down, so this is a nice stretch, perfect for Martin. But you could be like this today, and tomorrow you could come by and it would be cut 1,000 feet on each side of the road. That's clear cutting. So that's it. So anyways, enough of bull logging. Follow along, check out the camp. This will be a kind of a short video, just to show you where my camp is and where the stuff is at. Just meeting a couple guys coming in. Not a lot of ice fishing up in this end of the world, so interesting to see some guys out. Unfortunately, there's still guys hunting moose, and they usually travel up here until they can't really travel anymore on the roads. I see looks like they're even skidooing, so hard to say if they're moose hunting or if they are actually fishing. But in the area that this road goes for 70 or so kilometers, so it attracts a lot of two-legged predators for moose, unfortunately. Like I said, it's December the 18th, so way past the regular hunting season, but it doesn't stop some people. Okay, so I just left what we call the main road, and I'm on the secondary road here, and I'm heading up to my camp. This road is not plowed, and like I said, it's December the 18th, and it's almost unheard of to be able to drive off-road at this time of year in this area. Normally we'd have upwards of 2 feet of snow, and for some reason this year we have almost nothing. So it's kind of cool. You just have to keep it between the pipes here and stay out of the rhubarb, and I should be alright. I'm about a little over 5 kilometers from the main road, or 3 miles, 2 miles, and there's a couple of hills. I just went up the first one. We call it Fellman Hill. A little history for you. This area was cut starting it way back in in the 1960s by a company called Fellman Timber, which is long since out of business. But they were in here cutting big jack pine and whatnot, the odd white pine, way back in the 60s. So some of the original roads into this area are that old. They've been cut, the area's been cut as recently as a couple years ago, where they were in cutting just past my camp. I had like 15 years where they didn't really do any cutting in this area, and then all of a sudden they come in and reopened up the road again and started use it to haul access a block of wood that they cut out. So I've had 2 big blocks cut in the last 5 years, I would say, and it's mind-boggling when you see the size of the cuts that they make with the commercial equipment. But it is what it is, and I guess the benefit is the nice roads that you get that last 5 or 6 years after they cut, and then if you maintain them forever, really. I was on my own in here for like 15 years. A little history: I've been in this area trapping since 1983, so almost every bend in the road or crook or whatever along the road here has a little story to it. Literally caught my first cross fox right here at this little hump in the road. There used to be, when they used to haul here a lot, this road was kind of split in 2 pieces, and they used to go around the rock. It was kind of like a spot where the trucks could split their loads. Or not split their loads, but empty trucks would wait for the full trucks to pull by. So there was a big split in the road, and I put a dirt hole set in there, and I caught a cross fox, which was the first one I ever caught. It was kind of cool. But long since developed, and you can't even tell anymore, so kind of different looking. But like I said, every little corner here or something, I've seen a moose or had different sets here that I've been catch animals over the years. I can't remember how many times in my life I've listened to Cross Country Check up there with Rex Murphy, especially on the Sundays. I'd be checking traps and in and out of my truck listening to Rex Murphy talk about the world. So lots of history here for me. Like I said, I've been here since 1983, and kind of interesting the way things have gone. When I first started here, this area, I couldn't catch a marten here, and then 20 years later I started catching marten again. So if you live long enough in an area and that you trap, everything comes back. It just takes time. So we're coming up to Ronson Lake here, and when I first got the trap line in 1983, there was an old camp here. It was pretty dilapidated, but you could still kind of stay in it overnight, fix it up a little bit and stay in it overnight. And it was right between what we call Ronson Lake and Jack Pine Lake, and it was right beside the road, literally. And so this is Ronson Lake on the right here. Anyways, when I took over the line, I burned it down. The camp was actually right here in this opening here, and I burned it down because this was a main road, and there'd be like 100 logging trucks going by a day. Not 100, but 50 a day probably when they were hauling. So it was a busy spot, and like I said, the camp was pretty run down, so I just burnt it one night after I built my other camp, and started from there. So we're almost at Fortune Lake here, the cutoff to Fortune Lake. It's just up here on the right. And normally when I'm in here lots, I would be cutting down all these trees that are hanging across the road like this one here, because the first thing that happens, you start driving around it and they put a hole in the road. So I tried to those guys were in Fortune Lake there, so that's the cutoff there. Anyways, that's good. pit here. And for years in the wintertime when they would be logging up here, I would park my truck here and then skidoo into the last 2 kilometers into my camp, or mile into my camp. But the last cut they did, they actually redeveloped the road and drove it right past my camp. It's the big gravel pit. You can see I just picked up a little power line here that goes up to the mine. They put that line in. There's a nickel mine just off the end of my trap line up here, and they were in there mining. It's since kind of in limbo for the last few years. Hasn't been running, but it ran for probably 10 years, long enough for them to invest in putting a power line all the way up from Timmins up to the mine, so they could have power instead of running on generators. So we're just at the last kind of turn off to my camp here. When I originally got my camp, this was a clear cut, and there was 1,000 feet of cut on each side of the road. And there wasn't a tree standing here, and after they cut, we're coming up to the lake that my camp is on, and when I built my camp, there was a 400-foot reserve left around the lake. So I built my camp inside of the reserve, and for protection, because that's the only place. This was just a huge clear cut. And we had moose hunted here a couple years prior to getting the trap line. And kind of logistically, this was kind of like one of the better spots to actually put up the camp. So just about at the camp here. I got a couple hundred more feet to go, but if you go straight, it goes right down to the landing at the lake. But I turn off here and I go into my camp. And hopefully, perfect. Nobody's been in. Bother it. Like I said, normally I keep this road pretty polished, but I haven't because if I keep it too clean, it's in the excuse for everybody just to kind of rolling in. So I just kind of leave it. You can see what looks like wolf tracks, I guess. Have to get out and look here in a minute. But just about there. Funny story from my camp. I built it in 1983 in September, and I got into a little bit of a kerfuffle with the ministry. They wanted me to build it outside of the reserve, and I wouldn't. And I had it down by the lake, and anyways, we had a disagreement, and I ended up, I had to move my camp until it was up here to where it is. So there we are. We made her. A couple of trees hanging down. I'm gonna just quickly open her up. So all the legitimate trap camps in Ontario have a sticker like that on them, a plate, and you can see I keep my camp shuttered up here just to keep everybody happy and out. But I'm just gonna quickly light up a fire here and do some shit here. Fire going. So I just quickly fired up the gas lights. It's my favorite sign of my camp. I was just doing a recon to make sure everything's in order. Just firing up the wood stove, get a little bit of life in the camp. I'm gonna go out and shovel off the deck. Just check everything out. My sleeping bag's good, I think. Yep, it's good. Bunks are good. No holes in the place. I have it set up that I have propane lights, or I have a generator, natural gas generator. I run a 2000. Works really good. So the old stove's just purring along there. Throws quite a bit of heat. So getting ready. Like I said, I'll be back up here probably right after Christmas and doing some trapping there for a little while. It's even though the prices suck, it's what we do, and I'm coming up to do it. So there you go. Is I'm miles and miles from any cell towers or town and that, but I'm on a bit of a hill here at the lake, and I get a little bit of reception, believe it or not. So that's pretty cool. There's a set of fox tracks checking out the camp. That's my trail down to the lake. My outhouse is over there. My driveway's designed so I can pull right through, so I can go around in a circle. So first order of business, I'll have to cut a little bit of firewood when I get up here, but that's nothing. There's all kinds of dead chicos all around the place here, so I'll cut a couple down pretty fast and be good to go. Got a couple of poplar that are bent over that I'll get rid of, but otherwise camp's in good shape. I'll make sure to bring up some propane, and I'll be right at her. So, like I said, a very exceptional year to be in here December the 18th and not have any snow on the ground, or not enough snow on the ground to stop us. Generally speaking, it's all skidooing from the main road in here at this time of year. So, pretty lucky. So, stoked about that. I know for sure we're coming up with the machines, but for now, it's a good recon trip for me to check everything out, make sure everything's in order. So, just go in and got the stove going, got everything working up here. Doesn't take long to heat this place up, but for now, just gonna shut her down, let her burn out, turn the lights out, and I'll be back. Kind of dark in here, doesn't it? So anyways, good to go. Lock her up. Got the 2-lock system here. Lock it at the top. I locked her. She's locked here, so. Been broken into a couple times, but over the years, I guess I've been pretty lucky. So, right on. Happy camper. Quick trip, worked out good. So, oh, gotta shut the propane off, or it'll just leak into the camp and the pilots. I got our gas range in there, and you light the pilots, but I'll bring up propane when I come here. Actually, there's still half a tank, which is good, but I'll bring up a fresh bottle so we don't run out. All right. Happy camper.
Why?